So my name is Julia Gamitto.
I'm Ben Hurley. This is our novel idea to incorporate tardigrade protein D-sub into the epithelial tissue to gain efficient resistance to solar radiation. Our research question is, does D-sub provide the epithelial tissue resistance to solar radiation when used in a sunscreen? So first, what are tardigrades? Tardigrades are microscopic organisms that have the ability to deactivate their metabolism to survive extreme temperatures. And more importantly, what we focus our research on is that they produce a protein known as D-sub that gives them resistance to radiation.
Our plan is to incorporate the protein that is into epithelial tissue to obtain a radiation resistance as well. So as you see down there, tardigrades D-sub protection DNA from hydroxyl radicals. So basically it's mimicking like when radiation is exposed and how D-sub protects the human skin against it.
The image to the left is the structure of the D-sub protein that we used a software known as AlphaFold to build the structure of the protein on. Where you can see where the colors are blue, that's where its atom difference confidence is very high, where it's definitely confident in what they predicted the atom structure the protein structure looks like. And then when you look at areas where it's kind of orange and yellow, that's where it's not as confident. So our hypothesis is if we incorporate D-sub into a solution similar to sunscreen to exert on the epithelial tissue, which is on our skin, then it will protect the human skin against severe levels of radiation that occur in lunar environments and on the moon. So how we wanted to obtain the protein D-sub, so we used a machine known as the centrifuge machine. So first step we took was evenly placing them in serum tubes around the centrifuge machine, and then we had the machine spin so fast that the proteins in the tardigrades would separate, and then we could locate the D-sub protein based on the densities of the proteins in the tardigrades that we found. So we have 3 different types of sunscreens. One is a commercial sunscreen that we bought at a local pharmacy. Another is a sunscreen that we made that does not include D-sub. And then another that we did make that does include D-sub. So the commercial sunscreen starts off a little bit more effective than the sunscreen with D-sub in it. However, it drastically decreases over time, which is why we as humans have to constantly keep reapplying sunscreen to ourselves. What we noticed in the sunscreen with the D-sub in it is that it started off less but had a more consistent resistance against radiation than the other 2 sunscreens. So our hypothesis was correct.
I would like to add it up that we did the sunscreen ourselves. So we had a D-sub one and one without D-sub to see what actually the material like zinc oxide and other chemicals that was protecting us from the sunscreen, or it's actually the D-sub.
So our independent variables in that experiment was the different types of sunscreens that we used. The dependent variables was the resistance efficiency against the solar radiation. And then the controlled variables that we used was the UV radiation detecting beads that we applied the sunscreens to, and the time that the sunscreen spent in the sun.